I have a question for you as it relates to, I guess, holidays in general, but the 4th of July.
Okay.
Everybody knows that like millennials and Gen Z, they're experiential. They want to go do stuff. And especially after a pandemic year, they want to be with each other, right?
Right.
What did 1970s Deb do on a holiday like the 4th? Was it dramatically different than what you see now, or was it fairly similar? Because like for us, it's fairly large groups going somewhere, having a big festive time, obviously taking recordings and pictures of it all along the way.
Right.
And then there's themes, and some people go even crazier than that. So like, take me to 1977, because I wouldn't say take you to being 36 because you had a six-year-old under your wing.
I was an adult.
Almost a 7-year-old, and chances are you weren't doing stuff like that. But so take me to when you were like 25, 26, 27. What would all the cool, hip friends of Deb be doing in Seattle, Washington?
Well, I think it would have involved, I'm going to say, picnic, barbecue, and water, boats perhaps, right? You know, that kind of thing.
So you would go out into the Sound, not the Bay, the Sound?
The Sound, or Lake Washington, or, people go on Lake Union, I guess, or what a lot of my friends and I did, we would go to Eastern Washington and go to Lake Chelan.
Would you drive there or fly there?
No, we'd drive.
Flying not as ubiquitous, or are you just off it? Did past Deb know that flying was a tragedy for future Deb, so she just ignored it 40 years in advance?
I probably just ignored it, but probably the really reason we drove is because, we loaded our cars with stuff, that we wanted to take. And then, I can remember before there was VRBO or Airbnb and all that. You went to a property rental management company and found a condo that was for rent on the lake.
Let's talk about that. You had to go to an actual brick and mortar where somebody would say, hey, you look like a nice person. Welcome to Pacific Northwest Bookings. And you would sit down with Jim, and Jim would say, you and a group of friends want to go to Eastern Washington. And then what would that look like?
I don't think that's what it looked like. I think what it looked like was that I called a fellow near Lake Chelan.
Okay.
Which would have been a long distance call.
I was going to say, how do you find that information to call Lake Chelan?
411.
You have to call an operator?
No, you call like information.
411 was just an information source?
Yeah. So I would say, like information would kind of help you. Usually I would have to say, could you give me a number for Kevin Zener on, Rose Street Drive,
So 411 was the telephone Wikipedia.
It was the telephone Wikipedia.
Amazing. Keep going.
Yeah. So I could call 411 or, I could have seen an ad somewhere, like Lake Chelan would have advertised in Seattle.
Okay.
So I could have seen an ad somewhere. I remember this one condo in particular because I was heavily pregnant with you. That was really nice. And I'm trying to think of how we found it. Or it's like you knew someone that lived over there and they knew someone, but you got the number of the person. And then you would say, hey, this is what I want. I want this many bedrooms. You wouldn't get pictures and stuff. That didn't happen.
I was going to say, how do you source this? How do you find out if it's okay or not?
You would just say, I want it to be nice. Does it have a lake view? Is it close to the lake? Is it close to the pool? Just stuff like that. And so then he would send you in the mail a contract.
Send you a contract in the mail.
Which you would sign.
So everything unseen, like you never even saw this guy.
The guy?
Like anybody that you were dealing with.
I saw him when I picked up the keys for the condo when we got over there.
So that's kind of similar to Airbnb, but you're relying on friends, you're calling information, you're referencing advertisements of which you jotted down the phone number.
Like driving or whatever.
Oh, this might be of interest someday. Oh, wait, let's U-turn real quick. I didn't get the last 4 digits, and we'll see if we can do this again. And then you're blindly calling in hopes that you don't end up abducted. And
no, you don't even think about that because somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah, and that's definitely not sketchy in any way whatsoever.
I don't feel like it was back then, but remember, this was also the time of Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, sight unseen, you get a contract in the mail.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably, all 20-year-olds are the same. You just like peruse it enough and then sign it.
I was 27 in this scenario.
And then just sign it.
So I signed it, kept my copy.
Of course, because it had like the 5 different layers
Right, yeah.
that you wrote on.
And then probably wrote a deposit check or something for it.
And then you send that
Sent
back.
my check and the contract back.
And then do your friends write you checks that you then cash? Or how does splitting the bill work?
Yeah, probably.
No Venmo.
Oh, no Venmo.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So then you go to the address of the person to pick up the key.
Yep. Go there. You get the key.
You survive that because they're not Ted Bundy.
Because they're fine.
And then
people.
it's just a surprise. You're going to go to this place and you're
totally a surprise.
hoping for waterfront. You're hoping for somewhat modern setup.
Yep.
And then you just live with the decision.
Yep.
And how'd that go?
It was great.
You can elaborate at any point in time here. This isn't your first podcast.
I don't feel, I mean, it was great. But I also want to remind you that that's exactly what happened when we went to Boise and weren't happy and ended up at Sun River.
That's what I'm saying.
I called the Chamber of Commerce and asked for a recommendation. So I can remember 3 or 4 or 5 different like condo kind of settings. And, if I don't remember being disappointed with anything, I remember like the one that I'm talking about, Lake Chelan, was really quite nice. It was very nice, really good property. But sometimes I think like, this is a little rustic, but still fine. I mean, still good. And everything always worked out. Nothing bad happened. They were great.
And then what would you do? How would you recognize a holiday like the 4th? Fireworks? Were fireworks legal in Washington?
So, yes, fireworks were legal, but it kind of depends on where you were, right?
Okay.
And so if you were somewhere like Lake Chelan, there could have easily been fireworks on the lake.
Right.
Which people would have.
Makes
then
sense.
you don't feel like you need to go buy fireworks, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't really remember having fireworks as an adult or setting them off. I remember going to where fireworks were more than doing that. I mean, I remember I always thought sparklers were a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody liked a sparkler, right?
Who doesn't?
Yeah. And so you might get a couple packs of sparklers, but, mostly it was like you were going to where the fireworks were.
And so then here's my real question. You would go there on the 4th of July. You have old school pull tab beer cans, right? The pull tabs, because they didn't have what are those called now? The beer cans, right?
That's a pull tab.
No, it was the actual pull tab. Like it came off of the can, right? Because there was the metal ring, and then you pulled it, and then that
you
metal
had to
film.
pull the little piece off. Yeah. You probably had those.
And
But
then
you had beer bottles too.
then you had the beer bottles.
Mm-hmm. But you had
What's that? People can't see that. What is that?
That is, they didn't all twist off.
Oh yeah. The bottle opener.
Yeah, bottle openers.
But that still exists.
Yeah. Okay.
So then what would you do during the day? Because I think this is probably the biggest difference between your generation and my generation and younger generation.
Yeah.
Everything we do is built around something, some type of game, some type of experience.
You guys are theme people now.
Not even a theme, but it's like there's spike ball, there's board games, there's drinking games, there's all these things we can do, right?
Yeah.
What did you actually do?
Well, we drank also.
Yeah, clearly.
Okay. And we had drinking games as well.
Oh, yes. Love it.
You didn't invent all the drinking games.
I didn't think so, but give me a drinking game from your time.
Well, the one I remember most is the one that you do, with the cups and the ball.
You guys played that?
Yes, we invented it. What are you talking about?
Really?
Yes, that was our game, not
Very
your
cool.
game.
I just assumed everybody sat around in lawn chairs drinking beers and smoking cigarettes.
That would have been our parents, not us. Okay. So probably we were out on boats.
Okay.
There was always a couple people that had good boats, right?
Nice humble brag. I don't have any friends with boats.
So we were all, or maybe their dads had boats.
Fair.
I don't know. But there were always boats. There was there was water, there were pools, there was food, people were playing tag football. Some people would go play tennis. Some people, we did all the things you did. If people loved to exercise, they might go for a run in the morning. We did everything you did. We ate, we drank, we played games, we had fun.
Nobody goes for a run in the morning anymore.
Oh, don't they?
I can't imagine that they do.
Well, because you're too old now.
Well, yeah, I don't run.
Yeah.
I thought I was sitting here thinking did they just sit and enjoy each other's company without any distractions?
No,
No, heavens no. That's not what friend groups have ever done.
No, because I think we would have played card games. We would have, all the board games that you love were
Would you have brought a board game to a beach to play?
Oh, we would have brought a board game.
Like Clue?
No, not like Clue. More like
Monopoly?
Yahtzee or Scrabble.
Oh, something that you can yell. Like Yahtzee?
Yahtzee.
Slam the dice down?
Also, it doesn't require a lot.
True.
Those are two games that are just easily transportable. Now I know they have the travel versions.
Oh, yeah.
But in those days, they would have been easily transportable.
I love it. This was a beautiful glimpse into. I figured it was just so much more different. Where you would have said, Kevin, we didn't need constant distractions because we didn't have all this stuff being shot at us all the time.
We were happy to be with one another.
Right.
I will say that.
But I did find out that my mom invented beer pong, and that's fantastic. Let's start the podcast.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. One is a Harvard Business School alum. The other is her son, discussing business, pop culture, family, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Deb and Kev.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Sitting across from me, the Betsy Ross of this show, as she's affectionately known. It's my mom, Deb.
I'm Deb.
And I'd call myself Uncle Sam, but y'all know I can't grow facial hair. I'm her son, Kev. And this is our podcast. On today's show, it's the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. This is going to be a quasi-themed episode, so we'll just go with that, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
If I was, really, really hell-bent on making this a themed podcast, I'd have the Star Spangled Banner playing in the sound bed beneath here. We'll see if I get to that. In Betsy's business segment today, she's going to talk to us about how business owners can properly manage holiday time off requests. Relatable. And instead of use it in a sentence, or Dear Debbie, or Would You Rather, we are going to test Deb's true American acumen and see if she can answer questions from the United States citizenship exam.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Are these real questions?
Big time.
Oh, no.
And when all is said and done, we're going to wrap this episode up with what we're thankful for and what's for our patriotic dinner this evening. But first, Deb, everybody wants to know, how is the Deb and Kev podcast swag coming along?
It is moving right along. Stop.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, I do. I got from a listener.
Okay.
From our listener, Brant in Wyoming. I got some information on who to order our stuff from.
Nice.
So I'm close to doing that.
All of the stuff, all of the paraphernalia can be purchased from a one-stop shop.
I'm putting you in charge of our picture.
Of the design.
Of our picture.
What picture?
You said we were going to have glossy signed
but
pictures.
You also do you need the design element, or can this place provide that too? Or do you need me to provide the design element?
Well, you showed me design things.
Sure.
Yeah.
How, that was 3 months ago. How, do we still like it?
I think so. I'll have to look at it again. Oh, it's going to happen, folks. It's going to happen. I promised it would, and it will.
Yeah, I think this is episode number 95. So that
95.
puts us at
5
about
episodes away.
2.5 weeks.
Oh,
So
I need to go now. I don't have time to do the podcast.
You know, what's interesting about this time is I think back to last year. We had obviously started the podcast and we were a couple episodes into it. We were still in the throes of the pandemic, but we had spent so much time together at this point that our depression synced together.
Yeah.
And this was the first week of the entirety of the country being shut down that you and I eventually looked at each other and said, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is overwhelmingly too much. I cannot process this. I said, I thought going to the lake and celebrating the 4th with friends was going to make me feel like I could bring my head up and breathe for the first time in 3 or 4 months. That didn't happen. Between, you know, just life and dad and all the craziness, you were wearing it as well. What a difference a year makes.
Oh my gosh. What a difference a year make. I feel, I wouldn't say, I do want to say, I don't feel totally free. I mean, I don't, you know, you're seeing these horrible little spikes. We don't know anyone personally, but we've heard about some really sad deaths recently from COVID and, you know, that Delta variant. And so it's not over. So, I mean, I still feel it. However,
there we go. Let's get off that Debbie Downer thing.
What a beautiful life it is today, and how grateful I am that we can move about and go here and go there. And really, I mean, it's amazing.
I think one of the things that we've learned, especially living where we live, is that every community in every state across the United States handled it so differently from a standpoint of just population. You know, we are a spread out population here. It is not dense. We do not live on top of each other, though the city is growing at such a rapid rate that apartment dwellers will be probably more common than homeowners here in the next 15 to 20 years. That's not the case right now. So even amidst the chaos that was, you know, July 4th, 2020, it still never felt like we were on top of each other or couldn't have some freedom. Now with vaccinations and it just being summer in general, you hear about these new variants, but it doesn't really affect us the way it would like LA County or the way it does Manhattan or any of these really densely populated areas. So there is this kind of bizarro, we're living our own normal lives while simultaneously COVID still exists and is affecting regions that, you know, are densely populated. But I would also counter that by saying that's the benefit of living where we live, is that stuff doesn't have to be top of mind to us. And instead, we get to plan fun 4th of July weekends. We get to go out. We don't have to wear the masks. I just can't. It's just such a juxtaposition of where we were this time last year. It's crazy.
When I was getting ready this morning, I looked out my bathroom window and I had this thought, like last year at this time, Kevin would have been out there lifting his weights.
Yep.
Like, you know, you would have had all your stuff spread out.
Yep.
And now you just go to the gym.
It's funny, I think about that too, because I would try to time it where the shade of the trees wasn't in the backyard so that I could obviously get a tan while simultaneously working out. And it's just, it's crazy how quickly something can become normal, right? Like I knew between the hours of 1:30 and 3:30, the backyard would be shadeless. And that's when I could go work out. I went through an astronomical amount of sunscreen, aerosol cans, none of that. So between my hairspray and the sunscreen last year, I definitely did my part to kill the ozone layer.
Yeah, you single-handedly are responsible.
But then there's a piece of me that's also kind of sad about this year because there will be a small, we're recording this on Saturday so that we don't have to record this on Sunday. There's a small group of us that is going up to the lake, and it's probably comparable to the size that was up there last year, but there are people that are missing because they're going on a vacation. Mm-hmm. Conversely, there are people who are traveling to us who wouldn't last year. So there's this, not a somber piece, but I mean, one of the fringe benefits was you got to be around all of your people for so long because there was no built-in excuses for them to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Did Aria live here at this time last year?
Nope.
Okay. So I think, but here's what I think you're going to feel. Like last year, 4th of July is insane at Lake Tahoe.
It is so, there are like 10 spots on the lake that could not be more different from one another. And the further south you go, which means you're getting more towards the Nevada side of stuff, which is far more liberal with the casinos, with the partying, that is a full-blown riot. Like,
yeah,
boats next to each other. Nobody's sitting on the beach because everybody's standing on the beach. It is 1,000% chaos. We go to the north side of the lake, which is
north and west,
which is still very busy, but it's like towels busy, lunch busy. Yes, people are drinking, but like nobody's, carrying speakers on their back, plugging it into a sound system that's going to deafen everybody within, 500 yards.
So, there is that section of Tahoe City, kind of the busy section, and where it can take a long time to go a mile or two.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's just bumper to bumper to bumper. And it's where kind of the good restaurants are, so.
I don't even know that they're good. That's just where a lot of restaurants are.
A lot of restaurants are that have beach access.
Yep.
Yep. And I think that this year is going to feel remarkably different to you than last year. But I don't know. A lot of people were up at the lake for a long time last year.
Well, I'll tell you what was interesting last year is, and we're going to do this again this year, we got to our spot on the beach very early, like 6 a.m. early. Like we drove up there while the sun was still coming up, and we were able to cordon off a spot fast because there was nobody up there. We were probably up there for 8 hours before the youths arrived, those pesky youths. And when they came, it was just a free-for-all. I mean, if you would have looked at the beach with them as opposed to the beach without them, you would have said, oh, the pandemic ended at noon. Like, it was over. The pandemic officially stopped at noon. And I imagine that's probably going to be the same thing. We're going to get up there super early. We'll carve out a nice, wholesome morning, and then the college kids will have woken up from the night before, and they'll stumble into their cars, and they will find their way up to us, and they will ignore the boundaries of towels that we've set out so as to keep them away, the moat of towels. And then by then we'll be happy to leave because we'll be sunburned and
you'll be sick of them.
1,000%.
And it's the better sun in the morning too. It gets so hot.
It gets so hot. And that's the other thing that I'm so looking forward to is the weather has been nicer here, but it's still like 95, 96, 97. Tahoe is anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees cooler. So like low 80s. I mean, it's the dream. It's the dream situation.
Yeah. I was in the Bay Area yesterday, and it was, first of all, there was a lot of fog around the airport, which normally I would complain about, but it just was like this good chill. It felt terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And then as we got out of the airport into the area that I was going, it was perfect all day. It was like high 70s.
Ugh.
Yeah, I just loved it.
And then the worst part is it just keeps looking like it's supposed to rain here, and it doesn't rain.
What is that all about?
It is the worst tease imaginable.
When you and I talked the other day on the podcast about the weather and how it felt dark, it was like that until nighttime.
Yep.
Like it just felt like, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Dad said it poured down rain at the golf course, but not here.
There is a no rain zone around our house apparently because the weather hates us.
Yeah.
Deborah.
Yes.
Betsy.
Yes.
One of the most scrutinized elements of being an employee is asking for time off.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people assume there's a hierarchy when it comes to asking for and receiving time off. But not in Deb's world, there's not. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about requesting time off, seniority as it relates to that, and then how a boss can properly navigate all the landmines of dealing with that.
When we're for this case, I'm obviously not talking about Google or Facebook or some giant corporation. They have probably within departments, things that they have to do, and I don't know what they do, nor really do I care.
So if Zuckerberg is listening to this particular episode, this doesn't apply to you, bud. But just keep listening after.
Do whatever you think is right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Just
Well, yeah, definitely don't do what you think is right, Mark,
Yeah,
because that's probably the worst decision you can make.
Do what is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do what the communal belief is right.
Right. Exactly. So what often happens, and when I say small business, I mean, I could mean 50 or 100 people or less. But, when you have a community, and this is often the case where 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people have been there for a really long time.
Yep.
So they not only have tenure, the most tenure,
Yep.
they also have, in a lot of cases, a lot of seniority.
Can I ask you a question about tenure?
Yes.
I've only really ever heard tenure related to professors.
Mm-hmm.
Is tenure something that you accrue with having been somewhere a certain amount of time? Does that mean that you can't be fired?
No, it does not mean you can't be fired. Well, I mean, maybe in the professor world,
Got it.
It might mean that. But in this, I'm referring to tenure as meaning that you have some advantages that maybe some other people don't.
Got it.
Just simply because of the time that you've spent there.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just say that we have a department of administrative people. Okay.
Sure.
Somebody
The
there,
Excel spreadsheet people.
the Excel spreadsheet people, someone's been there longest, right? Now, we could say, does seniority count? Usually seniority doesn't count, though we know that, bosses typically take vacation when they want to, but if they have a boss, they have to consider it. So
Sure.
Seniority might be an element, but one of the biggest elements is really, I'm going to say time served, how long you've been there, because you usually have more.
So it's based on prison time
Based
served.
on prison time.
Okay.
And you usually have more, and you have seniority. And that's the one. I mean, doesn't mean that you have to be a supervisor, a manager, or an owner, but you have seniority because of the time that you've been there.
Got it.
Right. So there is a belief in some cases that person should always be the first to choose.
Which makes absolutely no sense. Because what you're saying in that moment is, because I took a job earlier than you, and we talked about this on Thursday, you could just be a baby boomer who's decided to never leave this job. And so the fact that you were just born 40 years before somebody in no way gives you the right to have free ask of a 3-day weekend, right?
Let me rephrase what you just said.
Please don't woman-splain what I just said to me.
Or you could be a person who came to work there 30 years ago and has been a diligent, loyal, and hardworking employee that has given your life to that organization and helped bring others in and has done a lot of business and has done an excellent job in the evolution and growth of that company.
That doesn't mean your fun's more fun than my fun.
I'm just saying.
But that's it. But you're on my side. I know where we're going with this. You're on my side. You just because you've been somewhere doesn't mean that your de facto time off request is more important than mine.
So here's my opinion.
A little cart before the horse there, but still.
I think you're actually on my side.
That's what, no, I'm saying I'm on your side. You're on my side. We're on the same side.
So here's what I think. Does it count that they've been there? I'm going to say yes, that it can, like they get a tick, they get an extra little thing, it does count. But what can't happen, and depending on the size of the company, and the smaller it gets, the worse it gets, is that person says, I take the week before Christmas off, I take the week after Christmas off until New Year's, and that's mine.
And everybody covers me
And
because...
everybody covers me because I've been here the longest.
Right.
So that's when, and when you've had really small companies with just a handful of employees, that person can have had that, right?
Yep.
I mean, and then suddenly they don't. If it works out that person, that nobody else cares about time off at Christmas, like they're really fine with it.
Sure.
Like they go like, our company closes Christmas Eve, then I get Christmas Day off. Good enough for me. The same thing happens on New Year's. Good enough for me.
Yeah.
Then let whoever wants it off, right?
Yep.
But it can't just default to that person always. So the one thing that I think about big holidays, probably Thanksgiving, Christmas, maybe Easter, maybe 4th of July.
Well, yeah, I would say like the big religious holidays and then the 3-day weekend holidays.
Right. So I think there has to be like, you got it last year, you don't get it this year. Now you might get it 2 years in a row because really nobody cares.
Yeah.
Or it might be that you want to go home to Omaha, right? And everybody else likes you so much, they want you to go too. And they say they don't care, that they'll they'll cover. I mean, it could be that you get it, but it shouldn't be just because you've been there the longest, right?
Sure.
I think in the big holidays that there has to be management of that so that, and especially our world now, I mean, we're in Reno, but a lot of kids come to college here. So we have kids from lots of other places that remain here, but want to go home for Christmas. And so I think that it has to be kind of a shuffling effect, but I think it is like, you don't get to have every Christmas off. You don't get to have every Thanksgiving off. We have to work together. We have areas that we have to cover. I mean, if it's a retail operation, they're not even closed all of Thanksgiving, right?
Right.
An office would be. So an office pretty much can take care of its people. But if it's retail, they could be open on Thanksgiving.
For sure.
Or the Friday after, right?
Yep.
So I think that how it has to be is you keep a running calendar of who had what. And then I just think you rotate. And you just rotate through.
So what you're saying to the owner or the manager is, in order to just keep continuity, in order for everybody to really understand, we have to look back on who's been able to receive what days off. So for instance, if it turns out that by no fault of my own, I had the past 2 Christmases off, and then Cindy, who's been here for 9 months, asks for Christmas off, just because I've been here for 5 years doesn't mean
that you should block her.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of positions that it doesn't matter. I mean, like, if somebody is, I'm thinking of our friend Fran, who is an administrative assistant, and she doesn't have 1,000 people back her up. Like, I think her bosses kind of take care of themselves if she takes time off, right? Mm-hmm. So Fran can kind of pick what she wants because there's not a ripple effect to her. But if there's a ripple effect, then it's got to be, I just think it's got to be shared. I think it's like, the person that's been there 2 years shouldn't look down the road and go, I'm never getting Thanksgiving off ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can never go see family.
As an employee, that would actually be demoralizing. If you thought horrible. That you were never entitled to get certain holidays or time off requests because somebody else was also putting it in, to me, that would be like, I don't know, deterrent number 3.
At the same time, I want to say, and this I think I've experienced with millennials, is they are from somewhere else. And they're like, but I'm from Wisconsin. I got to go home for Thanksgiving, but I'm from Wisconsin. I got to go home for Christmas. Hey, but I'm from Wisconsin. We always have an Easter thing at our house. Well, you're from Wisconsin, but you chose to live here. And you can't be first just because you're from Wisconsin.
Yeah, and if you're from Wisconsin, you don't have any priority over anything anyways. I don't think we have any listeners in Wisconsin.
So I do think all the things that we tabulate in our mind, certainly the person who has been there the longest, if we want to say they get to pick first, let them pick first.
Sure.
But they don't get always pick Christmas or Thanksgiving.
So if you're the owner and you have a business, let's just say 9 people work there, okay?
Yeah.
3 of the support staff are asking for the same holiday off. Somebody's been there for 7 years, somebody's been there for 3 years, and somebody's been there just under a year.
Yep.
What is that conversation like to you? Now, I know that we don't have a backlog of time off to reference in this conversation, but if all 3 requests come in, they're all more or less at the exact same time. Not somebody didn't put in like 6 months ahead of time, and then somebody put in 2 days ahead of time.
They walked in the door right now together. Yeah.
They all said that it was a dead sprint to see who could get their paper submission in first. How do you navigate that decision?
So I do think you bring up a good point about people asking in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
I think that's important. So if 3 people walked in and let's say they all asked for Thanksgiving off.
Okay.
What I would say to them is there's time before the holiday and there's time after the holiday. Typically we take Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, but Thursday is the holiday.
Correct.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are not the holiday.
Facts.
Right? Figure it out. Somebody can take before, somebody can take after, and the third person grapple for something in between. But you can't all have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if we're in fact open some of those days.
And is the purpose behind that? I feel like there's a lot of layers to that, using that mentality. You're washing your hands of it, which is always a great thing to do.
Yes. Perfect.
You're forcing the three of them to work together to come up with a solution,
Yeah.
which then subsection is they've all agreed to it. So even if they all agree to it and then somebody 2 or 3 days later comes back and starts bitching about it, you get to look at them and say, then why did you say yes on Tuesday?
Because the story, their sad story that they're going to tell me, right?
Yeah.
About why they really need that time off. They need to say that to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the truth. If they are all coming at the same time, they need to say, I mean, it's my mom is older than your mom. I haven't seen her for a year. You've seen your mom. I mean, like they need to say that. That's the stuff that influences people, right? I mean, they need to state their case. I think also, and I think a little bit of this, even with Christmas, doesn't happen. You know, with Christmas, you've got before Christmas, and there really are those people that would rather have the time before Christmas off to plan than after Christmas.
Yeah.
Then there are after Christmas people, and that kind of goes into the New Year thing. There are people that New Year's is just a tremendous holiday for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a week after New Year's. I mean, there's like a 3-week period there that people really vacation and take time off. Like, let's expand our thinking a little bit, you know, before, after, let's do this holiday instead of that. I mean, but you just have to realize that you're more than likely going to get the day. You're probably not
You're more than likely going to get the time off, just maybe not the exact day.
Yeah, but you're going to get the holiday.
Yeah.
You're going to get the holiday for sure. And I know it's tough for people that have to get on a plane. Nobody's going to get on a plane, I mean, of any distance, to fly on a Wednesday, to have Thanksgiving on Thursday, to fly home Thursday night to be at work Friday.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to happen
Right.
in most cases. But I mean, people do it in cars. People do that version of that in a car, you know, where they'll drive to families. So you just have to be flexible and know that you'll get your turn.
Put a bow on it for us, Deb. I haven't said that in a while. Put a bow on it.
It's an emotional thing. The holidays are emotional. And I think when we think we have to kind of barter for them a little bit, it becomes exceedingly emotional.
Yeah.
And I think that that's as much as you can, keep that out of it. We have had holidays where we have not been together, and really the thought of it is worse than the actual day.
I was thinking about that the other day.
The day ends up being fine.
Totally.
It's fine for you wherever you are. It's fine for me wherever I am. But it's the thought of you not being home at a holiday that is like, nah, you know. I mean, the thought really is much worse.
I have the only holiday I have never missed. Missed Easter, missed Thanksgiving, missed birthdays. I've never missed a Christmas.
You've never missed a Christmas, but I'm sure it will happen. Maybe it won't, because maybe I'll just stalk you wherever you are.
I was going to say, it would be weird if I missed a Christmas. Like, it would be one of those situations where I was having to fly in and got snowed out and couldn't. I mean, it would be a Home Alone situation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we would, certainly our family, we would either come to you or you would come to us. We would really try hard to make that happen. But I mean, I can remember the first Thanksgiving that you weren't with us, and I ended up inviting some kids your age over, and they were thrilled, and we actually had a great time, you know? And so did I miss having my own child? Yes. Was I heartbroken? No, it was all fine.
I want everybody to take from that I was easily replaced in my mom's eyes by people who are just kind of like my own age.
Yeah, I was feeding people your age who were happy to have it and really grateful. So I was happy.
I just have to go find, you know, a couple older people who are willing to take me in, and that's a perfect swap for one another.
That's perfect.
Fantastic. I agree with all this stuff. Take the emotion out of it. If you can have the people deal with it themselves, have them deal with it themselves, but then acknowledge that even if you don't get the exact dates you want off, you're still going to get that time off.
Yeah. Be generous. Be generous of heart with it.
I agree. I'm excited for this. You know that I love playing games. You know that I love when you're the contestant when we play games. This isn't much of a game. This is just proving whether or not you deserve to live in this country, Deborah.
I'm sure that I don't know these answers.
I think I've scaled them where we'll go from easy to hard.
Okay, what if I don't know the easy ones?
Then that's going to revoke your citizenship, and we're putting you on a boat to Sweden. So here, let me lay the groundwork for the citizenship exam questions. Okay. Prior to you becoming a citizen,
Yes.
the United States of America, the country in which we live,
Yes.
tells you all the type of information you should be studying so as to equip yourself for this test. Okay? And it goes from the founders to present day to government to leaders of state and kind of everything in between, as well as like what is the essence of being American. It's not that broad, but like some of the things that we pride ourselves on being American with. Okay. The citizenship test consists of 100 questions.
Oh, Lord.
We're asking all of them. Just kidding. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS, will ask the applicant 10 of those 100 questions.
Oh, only 10?
It's a verbal.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Did not think that.
I love that. That feels better. Like that feels like a better opportunity.
How many of those questions do you think they need to get right in order to pass the civics portion of this exam?
Oh, at least 7 or 8.
6.
Oh, 6.
Yes.
Okay, so I have 6 opportunities to not get thrown on a boat to Sweden.
I think every single person would agree with me that your threshold has to be like 8.
No. If the rule is 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not live here your entire life?
I know, but the last time I took U.S. history, I was probably 14.
It's not necessarily all U.S. history. It's America.
The last time I took government, maybe I was 15.
Well, let's tap into that 15-year-old Deb and see what we can come up with. Deb, the right to live in this country is at stake. We'll see if you've earned it as we give Deb the citizenship test. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 national U.S. holidays. Please give me 3.
4th of July.
Okay.
Are these federal holidays?
It says name 3 national U.S. holidays. This is the easy portion of the exam.
4th of July.
Okay.
Memorial Day.
Okay.
And Labor Day.
Do you want to change any of those answers?
I do. 4th of July? Independence Day.
You don't have to. Okay.
Independence Day.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, wait, you're changing all of these?
I don't know. Now you confused me.
This is just
I don't do
go
good
with your
tests.
gut. Go with whatever your gut says.
Okay. 4th of July.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay, so to start, you listed 4th of July, Memorial Day.
No,
and to start, that's what you listed. You listed 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's what you said to start. All 3 of those were correct. Then you changed. Ma'am, I'm the officer here. Please don't talk over me. Your citizenship is at stake. You changed them.
You tricked me.
Then you changed them to Independence Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. All 3 of those are correct.
Oh, yay.
Ma'am, I would ask that you don't speak over me. I'm a federal representative of the United States.
But listen, here's what I'd like, federal representative.
Yes. Okay. Officer Zener, please.
Officer Zener. Just give me a thumbs up. If you make me too nervous, I won't be able to handle.
What do you mean give you a thumbs up?
You should have, after the first one, just gone.
Oh, that's not how this works, ma'am. I'm sorry. It's hard to be an American citizen. Unless you're born here in white. It's not easy. Question number 2. There are a possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct answers.
Okay.
Name 1 United States of America territory.
Puerto Rico.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is correct. Puerto Rico is one of the U.S. territories. We would also have accepted the U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands, which I thought you were going to guess.
Yeah, that would have been it.
And Guam.
Oh, I think I knew all those except.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk
Mariana.
about, you call it the NMI all the time, when you reference the Northern Mariana Islands. All right.
You're making this sound more like Jeopardy.
I mean, if you were a Somali refugee
I would be a wreck right now.
coming to this.
I'd be sobbing.
What
my
would you
answers.
rather have? Me asking questions like this or some like hardened officer with no facial expressions just going down a list?
I don't know. You ridiculing me might.
I haven't ridiculed
crumble me.
anybody yet. I just said that I gave you the opportunity to change your answers. You changed them, but then you got them all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Question number 3. You're 2 for 2. Right now, you're on the fast track to becoming an American citizen. Number 3. Who was the president of the United States during World War I? Somali Deb. Who was the president of the United States during World War I?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Final answer.
Teddy Roosevelt.
I'm sorry. We were
Oh,
looking
no.
for Woodrow Wilson.
Oh.
Do you know how you remember that? W.
W. Oh, that's good. Did you know that before this?
Not a clue.
Okay.
But I'm already an American citizen. I don't need to know any of this stuff.
Okay.
2 for 3. Whew.
Okay.
Dicey here. This one might get you.
They've gotten hard already.
Oh yeah, they've already read. I'm not kidding you. They were either like you knew this when you were in first grade, or like I don't know that anybody's ever known this stuff. Question number 4. Name one singular war fought by the United States in the 1800s. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. One war.
The Civil War.
Final answer.
Civil War. Don't do final answer.
That is correct.
Yeah.
The other options were War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, and the Spanish-American War.
I was going to say the Spanish-American.
I know,
That was
you're a
my
big
other
fan
one.
of the
Yeah.
SA dub. That's what they call it. Question number 5. 3 of 4, Deb. Halfway there. When was the Constitution written? The Constitution. When do you think that was written?
A long time ago.
That's true, but we're looking for an exact date. When was that thing
Is it
written?
about the same time the flag was made?
Sure, give us the time the flag was made.
1777, but I want to say 1776.
I mean, I believe the answer is 1776. Whether or not that's the same year as when the Constitution was written, I don't know. Well, I do know because I'm looking at the answer.
1776.
Is your final answer? 1787.
Would have never gotten that. Yeah.
1787 is when our forefathers wrote the Constitution. 4 of 6.
Did you know that?
No. 3 of 5. 3 of 5. You're on 3 correct answers of the 5 questions asked to you.
Okay.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct answers to this next question.
Okay.
What are 2 rights of every citizen living in the United States? What are 2 rights of every citizen living in the United States?
To bear arms and
By the way, when she gives these answers, my facial expression does nothing.
okay, to bear arms. Thinking of several things. Thinking of
I mean, you can speak out loud. You can lock in your final answers.
What is like and to vote. To bear arms and to vote.
Final answer.
That's it.
The right to bear arms. Correct.
Yes.
Let's read the other ones. Freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech.
Oh, freedom of speech. Why didn't I say that?
Freedom of assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to petition the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one that has to match your answer, freedom of religion.
Oh, no. Do I get a 0.5?
No.
Okay. But I really knew some of those.
You're going to need to nail 3 of these next
How
4.
did I not know freedom of speech?
I'm telling you.
I mean, I should have.
Nobody's going to be more upset than me watching ICE take you away.
With
Yeah.
the blue and white or yellow.
Is it
flag
INS or
whatever.
ICE that's going to escort you
I
out of
don't
this
know.
house at
I don't
gunpoint?
know.
This is where it's going to get hairy.
To go back to one of the kindergartner ones.
Oh, we're done with those. What does the... Good luck. There are 4 possible right answers.
Oh my God.
give me one of the responsibilities of the judicial branch.
Oh.
Now sound it out. Judicial.
Judges. One of the responsibilities.
One of the four.
They only have 4.
I mean, they're pretty broad stroke responsibilities.
Okay. One of the 4 responsibilities. I'm a judge. And I'm part of a judicial branch. What would our responsibilities to the American people?
Right. Like, keep going with your train of thought. What are you? What do you do?
We're seeking justice.
No.
Oh.
You said it to yourself. Who are you?
I'm a judge.
What do you do?
I have a responsibility to the American people.
To do what? You just don't have a responsibility. What do you have a responsibility to do?
To judge effectively. I don't know. Let me think. Let me think of a judge. I'm going to think of a judge. I'm going to think what goes on in there. I am responsible.
Mm-hmm.
This is painful when you watch people in Jeopardy do this and they just like little.
This isn't
words.
Jeopardy. This is like Jeopardy's asking specific answers with
Yeah.
only one actual response.
Yeah.
I've given you 4 options here.
Okay.
This is multiple choice. This is more like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
They're responsible to effectively enforce the laws of the land.
To enforce the laws of the land. I'm going to need you to
Well, maybe
think
the
about
police
what
enforce
does...
them.
Okay.
To decide the disputes that the law enforcement brings to them. I don't know. I'm not using the
Review
right language.
laws.
Yeah, review laws. There you go.
Explain laws.
Yeah,
Decide if a law goes against the Constitution.
yeah,
And resolve disputes.
yeah. There you go.
Commit
I
to
got
it. Like, what does a judge do? What does a judge do?
Solves disputes.
He doesn't even solve them. He just sits there, right? Hey, I explained the law to you. You broke the law. This is what happens.
Yeah, consequences.
There you go.
Okay.
We'll give that one to you.
Oh, that was painful.
Commit to it. Commit to your answer. You're smart enough. Here we go.
Smart enough. Oh, like if I would have said that to you when you were a child. Oh, honey, you're smart enough.
Well, you're smart enough, just not right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 possible answers for this next question.
Okay.
Name 4
Oh,
cabinet level positions. 4 of them.
Secretary of the Interior.
Yes. 1.
Secretary of Education.
Yes. 2.
Secretary of Transportation.
Yes. 3.
Don't do that with your head.
I mean, this is me nodding, being like, yeah, you got it.
Secretary of Housing
And urban development.
and Urban Development. Okay, yay!
Here are your answers. Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of State, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Veteran Affairs, and the Attorney General.
Oh, the Attorney. I was thinking, because I was just thinking, like, what did they call Barr? He was the Attorney General, but then the Secretary thing kind of got me in a,
Question 9.
Yeah. How many do I have right?
I think you're sitting at 5.
Okay.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential right answers.
Okay.
Name 2
Okay.
branches or parts of the government. 2 of the 5.
The legislative branch
Okay.
and the judicial branch.
The legislative branch, I heard. What was the other one?
Okay.
The microphone cut out when you said
Did
that.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So just tell me what you said.
Yeah, I will. Just a second.
Okay, got it.
I want to think about it.
Yep, fair.
The legislative branch and the...
It's weird because you already gave me an answer, but you can keep thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you like my answer?
I don't know. I didn't hear
The
it.
judicial branch.
The microphone cut out again. Didn't hear that. Seems to be something that seems to be spiking when you speak.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Don't worry.
I don't know about
it's
government.
only your
It's
citizenship.
so sad.
It's only your citizenship.
The legislative branch, and I know there are people out there right now that are saying it into
They're
their cars,
screaming at the radio right now.
The legislative branch and the...
Yep, get there. Get there.
It's not like the congressional branch. No. I don't know. Congressional branch? No.
I need you to lock in an answer. Commit to it.
There's the judges. There's the senators.
Yes.
There's the...
Yes.
Who else?
I don't think judges have anything to do with politics, but okay. Yes.
I'm going to say congressional branch.
There's the president.
Oh, forgot about him.
There's the courts.
Well, that should be judicial.
Nope. There's the executive branch. There's the legislative branch. And there's Congress.
Yay!
There you go. It all comes down to this. Question number Tev. Question number 10, little Somali Deb. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words?
Would you repeat the question again, please?
The idea, the notion of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these 3 words?
By the people?
It's really asking, how does the Constitution start?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
For the people?
No, you're thinking of a speech.
Oh, am I?
You're going back to Scandinavia if you get this wrong, lady.
The Constitution.
We're packing up your lutefisk.
Does it have something to do with my right to happiness?
Nope. That is a question on this, but that's not the question I'm asking you. First 3 words.
Do you know the first 3 words? Are they familiar to you?
Of course. Who doesn't? It's in huge calligraphy.
We the people.
There you
There
go.
you go. As soon as you did that, I got it.
We the people,
Yep.
by the skin of her teeth, Deb gets to remain
In America.
an America. Okay, here's a bonus question for you.
No, I don't want to.
Here's a bonus question. You only have to get one.
Okay.
What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment?
Happiness?
You think the United States of
There's
America,
a thing about happiness somewhere.
you think a freedom of happiness?
You
you
have the
think
right to be happy.
you have the right to be happy?
Let's see. I don't know. The
Deborah,
First Amendment.
What's in the First Amendment?
Bear arms is the second.
Right.
Um,
It's the first thing. It's what we dumb Americans think we get to do every single day of our lives.
the right to be free. No.
The freedom implies there's freedom to do these actions.
Okay.
What do? We turn to social media every day to do what?
I don't know. Why do you turn to social media?
What do people use social media for? To do what type of expression?
Freedom of expression.
No. Debbie.
This doesn't make me feel
Debbie,
good. I feel
freedom
like I'm in
of
fourth
what?
grade.
Freedom of what?
Expression.
No, that's not a thing. There is no such thing as freedom of expression.
I'm gonna open my computer any moment here. And
Freedom
kill
of
myself.
what?
I'm
What do you have the right to do? The freedom of what?
I have the right to breathe, live. I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Speech? Does speech sound right to you?
Oh, the freedom of speech. Yeah, got that. I knew that. Yeah.
I'm sweating over here.
This is awful.
Well, she never claimed to be a savvy history major.
This is awful. This is awful.
But she's still an American citizen, so I can't kick her off the podcast yet. Do you want one more question, or are you good?
No. I'm good. We have to do one where I ask the question.
Well, listen, you know you have freestanding to do anything you want on this podcast if you so desire.
To do some work.
Yeah, exactly.
Show up.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating after that laughter.
That is a lot.
Freedom of what? Happiness. Yep. You sure can be. And conversely, you have the freedom to be miserable simultaneously. Okay, Deb, on this 3-day holiday weekend, why don't you tell me what you are thankful for besides this exam being over?
I'm really grateful to be an American. I want to say that right
You're
now.
thankful to have been born in this country so that you didn't have to try to test into this country.
The thought that there were 100 other questions.
Oh my gosh, listen to some of these questions. What are 2 ways Americans can participate in democracy? What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Name one problem that led to the Civil War. I think we all know one problem.
I feel that these are trick questions, though.
I mean, kind of.
Is the answer
here's a tough one. What did Martin Luther King Jr. do?
He was a minister.
No, they don't want his profession. What did he do? What was his purpose?
What did he accomplish?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it says, what did he do?
And what's the answer?
Worked for civil rights, worked for equality for all Americans.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you get the answers, here's another tough one. During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States during the Cold War?
That a nuclear bomb would get dropped on us.
No, because what was the nuclear bomb indicative of? Like, where was it coming from?
Russia.
And what was Russia about?
Killing us.
No, communism.
Communism.
Right? Like I say that and you know it, but these things
you have to one leads to the other leads to the other.
I tried to give you questions where it was like specific answers.
Yeah.
Where this was like, what were we concerned of? Yeah, the nuclear holocaust? I don't know.
Right.
Like, no, communism. Like, yes, we were concerned about communism, but there were a billion different things.
I was more concerned about the bomb. Yeah.
Right. Okay, just name one American Indian tribe. Just one. They're like 20.
Cherokee.
There you go. First one. Perfect. Yeah. Redemption.
Okay, there you go.
Deb, a woman of the tribes. What are you thankful for this week? Let's reset. 3-day weekend, 4th of July. Mm-hmm. Deborah, you still are a citizen of the United States. What are you thankful for?
Here's the thing. I do love the 4th of July, and I do love, I'm going to say patriotism in its, most healthy and normal expression.
Patriotism, not nationalism.
Yeah. In its most healthy and normal expression. And I am grateful to have been born here. And I am grateful for all the freedoms we have. I'm super sad that I don't know much about them.
Oh my gosh. I'm not kidding. Everybody should go Google the U.S. Citizenship test. Look at the 100 questions. It changes every single year. If you know 30% of them, you're doing better than I did.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
And we know you're doing better than Deb did.
You're doing way better than I did. But we haven't mentioned Dad for a while, and I'm really grateful. He had a little surgery right after his chemo. And of course he's getting out of the chemo stage now. And he's really I think he's happy right now. And I think he's living a pretty full life. I mean, still goes to bed really early, but I think he's kind of got into that routine. I'm feeling like it's a choice to not sit and watch TV with us. He'd rather sleep. But anyways, he's doing really well right now, and it's noticeable. And so I'm very grateful for that as well.
That's wonderful. I'm thankful for, I mentioned at the top of the show, this time last year, I think the totality of the weight of what we were all going through sat squarely on my shoulders. And if we do not look back on history, we are doomed to repeat it. And so I am aware that the world has changed dramatically for the positive. I'm super excited to spend these next couple of days with friends doing the things that we did last year, but with a completely different outcome. And to not be depressed is always a good thing. So I'm just looking back 365 days ago, and I'm saying to myself, you're in a far better place. So be super duper appreciative of that.
There you go. I like that. That's
Thank
really
you.
good.
Deb, you know what I'm going to ask you?
What are we going to have for dinner?
What are we as Americans going to have for dinner this evening?
Are all the Americans coming over?
Anybody who wants to. You just have to answer 10 questions to get in the door.
You have to, and we pick.
Yeah, no, we definitely pick.
Yeah, and we pick. So tonight we're going to, I think we're going to barbecue some chicken, but we're also going to barbecue some tri-tip.
Yum.
And then we've got some couple of side salads because I don't want to cook. I want it all to be done out on the barbecue.
Isn't it funny to think that there are still parts of this country that don't really know anything about tri-tip?
I know.
I had a conversation about that with somebody the other day.
Tri-tip?
Never even heard of it.
Really?
Totally.
I think, is it totally a West Coast thing?
I mean, I know for sure it started out here, but I feel like I've had it other places, but it is like a decidedly West Coast cut of meat.
So a tri-tip, for those of you that don't know, is, I don't know what part of the cow it is.
For those of you who don't know, I don't know what part of the cow it is.
But the thing, it's shaped like a triangle.
It is.
Like an isosceles triangle.
1,000%.
And it's a big piece of meat. And what we do is we have, it's actually that McCormick's steak seasoning.
Montreal steak seasoning.
Montreal, yep. And I cover the whole thing in it. It seems like a lot, I know, but I do it. And then we just barbecue it or put it in the oven. And it is the best piece of, I think, beef, especially for a group.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
It used to be insanely cheap.
It used to be, when we first started buying it, it was like, I don't know, $2.99, $3.99 a pound. Now it's like $9.99 a pound. It's ridiculous, but it's still good.
Yeah, it's honestly a perfect meat. It's not too lean. It's not too fatty. You don't have to really ever take off like the silver skin or anything like that. It's perfect if you want a tasty meal that has very little treatment that can cook really fast. I mean, you just cover that thing in Montreal steak seasoning, and if you don't have a barbecue, you throw it in the oven like at 400 degrees for 25 minutes.
Yeah, it comes out. So what the Montreal steak seasoning does, because it's mostly salt and pepper, is it holds all the juices inside.
Yep.
And then you let it rest, and then you just slice it. And you could slice it. We've used it for French dip sandwiches later, but I mean, you can slice it thick, you can slice it thin.
Yep.
It's good for a group. We love tri-tip. If you don't have tri-tip somewhere in the United States, I feel bad for you.
Same.
We did. Oh, I shouldn't admit to this.
But too late for that. I can't edit this part out.
We have friends in Toronto, and they don't have tri-tip.
Yeah.
And they had lived here.
Yeah.
We were going to see them.
Yeah.
And as a last minute request, the wife said, would you bring tri-tip? And I said, how am I going to bring
How do you want me to smuggle meat into another
Exactly.
country?
So I went and bought 10 or 12 tri-tips, and I froze them all, and then I wrapped them in plastic and then wrapped them in newspaper and put them in Daddy's golf club case with his golf clubs. Got them all in there. They picked us up in Buffalo, so we had to go across the border to drive across the border. Only thing the guy says to me, he looks at me and goes, do you have any meat in there? That was the only thing he said.
And we all know Deb's really good at lying.
And I looked at him and I went, meat? We just flew in from Reno. And he goes, go on. So, I mean, I didn't technically lie.
So if you're putting all these pieces together, the woman who doesn't know much about the United States travels to Mexico a lot and now has a history of smuggling things out of the United States. Well, this podcast probably has about 2 more episodes left in it before the door gets kicked in.
So, but note to everybody, those tri-tips, when we took them out of the golf bag, were still frozen solid and in good shape. And they were the happiest Canadians in the world.
Which is saying something, because
Canadians are really happy.
Pretty happy.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's going to do it for this patriotic themed episode of the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to be an American and rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to it. It's your right. It's your duty. It's your expression of freedom of speech.
It's your right to happiness.
And you have a right as an American to be happy and, show that happiness by liking this podcast. And then if you want to watch this episode, which you can do too, follow us on all of our social channels at Deb and Kev Pod, and then see Deb just collapse under the stress of this quiz at our YouTube channel at Deb and Kev Pod.
This would be a good one to watch.
Yeah. If you ever want to see Deb uncomfortable, it doesn't happen often. You have a front row seat to it to watch this time.
Yeah.
Mom, I love you to death.
I love you, sweetie.
I'm so happy you still get to live in this country.
That I don't have to go to Sweden.
I mean, it would kind of be fun to visit you in Sweden.
Well, I have been looking for really inexpensive houses near water in the outskirts of Stockholm.
Reykjavik or wherever?
Wherever. I think that's Finland, but yes.
Oh, sure.
So I'm a little better at geography than I am.
Oh, weird. She doesn't know anything about America, but she knows where Reykjavik is.
Okay. So anyways, Sweden it could be.
I love you.
I love you.
And I'll love you when you get kicked out of this country.
Okay.
We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter at Deb and Kev Pod.